we have spent so much time that I think we know each other really well. So
yeah, 2 hours
I'm
a day,
happy.
every day. It's almost too much time. Yeah, I don't know any other twin brother pair that is starting a company. So you may be one of the only one in the world right now. It was about Dunzo, man. This is like one of the most well-loved brands in India. I mean, I feel like it became a verb.
One of the hardest things to do in a startup is to pick the right market. I'm pretty lucky AI is happening, right?
Yeah, it's the best cure for depression
Exactly.
for founders and investors alike.
Yeah. And we thought, okay, what if we could build an AI which could actually take an abstract programming job and do it fully on its own. Of course, we were laughed out of a lot of rules saying that, okay, this is not going to happen. I feel today like AI is like Bitcoin at like $1 and it's going to get to 100,000 in super short time.
Today we have a very special guest. His name is Mukund Jha, and he's the founder of a very, very exciting company in our portfolio called Emergent. Mukund, welcome to Lunchbreak with Lightspeed.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Mukund will talk about company building, team building, hiring, his past journey with building another company called Dunzo, and advice to founders and tricks of the trade on how to grow from $0 to $50 million in under 7 months. So you're building Emergent, one of the world's fastest growing AI companies.
True.
Yeah, this is one of those businesses where the absolute 1% accrues so much value than everything else.
Right.
Absolute 1% of the business, absolute 1% of the founders, the teams, the products. So we will discuss a lot about what makes this company the 1%. What is the aspiration that you're going after and how are you actually getting there? Because clearly you are scaling faster than anybody we've ever seen. I want to start with maybe something that goes to the heart of the entrepreneur, which is how they grew up.
Okay.
Where do they get their motivation from? Where do they get their grit from, their energy from, their passion from? So expect to get some get more vulnerable. You can ask some tough questions. I remember reading about you online that you were a rowdy student. You were hard to control, you were bunking classes. I don't know what other trouble you got into.
Yes.
But give us some color on who you were when you were growing up, and now that you are this professional, obsessive builder, how did that switch happen? Did it happen due to some event, some failure?
Thanks for inviting me. Like, super excited to be here. And over time, we have spent so much time that I think we know each other really well. So
yeah, 2 hours
I'm
a day,
happy.
every day. It's almost too much time. Yeah.
So I'm happy to be here and very excited to share my journey. I think our childhood, me and Madhav are doing this together. So we're twin brothers. So we know each other from the beginning of the days.
Is there any other founder? I think this is very unique, and I forgot to mention it. You guys are twin brothers. You look alike.
Yes. We are
you're very different.
Yeah. We have a sister too. Yeah,
Your sister
she's
also
not part of the company. Yes.
Okay. But you look alike, but you're very different from each other. We'll talk about that because it plays in very interesting ways in the company.
Right.
I don't know any other twin brother pair that is starting a company. So you may be one of the only one in the world right now. We should talk more about this.
Yeah, we should. I think it's really fun, because you have this inherent trust, and we have grown up almost finishing each other's thoughts, right? So there is almost this deep connection at sort of thinking level, right? So we are mostly aligned on most of the things when we think about it. So that's been really fun. So growing up, Madhav has been the top class topper, right? He was rank 1 all the time. I used to be the one who was running away from studies. Never had interest in studies. In fact, I think I remember till 6th class I was almost passing in schools, and there was one exam that was an optics exam in 6th class where
you mean the optics of physics?
Physics, yeah. And there you have to actually really apply your brain, because there was convex lens and concave lens, and you put them together, what comes out. And I scored 14 out of I think 20, right? And the class second highest was 2, right? And the teacher asked me hey, who did you cheat from? I think that was the first time I sort of realized, life is not just about reading books and mugging things, and probably that was the first time I sort of had this inclination that okay, things can become easier if you apply yourself.
Yeah.
And growing up, I've never been sort of in studies, so I in class 10th, 11th, mostly used to skip school, go for movies, and we grew up in a very sort of middle class constrained family, right?
Where did you grow up?
So we grew up in Noida.
Okay.
Till 10th we were in Noida, 11th, 12th we were in Bangalore, and so my dad is also an engineer. He has his own story. He's the poster child of the kids who study under the street lamp, right?
Oh wow!
So yeah, so he was grew up in Bihar in an extremely poor family, and like he got IT rank 92.
Oh my God!
Like studying on his own, right? So there is something in the genes. This has always been an inspiration for us to sort of really like as we grew up. And I was never into studies because like to me like studies always felt like there is no point. So I was generally away from studies. But I had a lot of interest in like computers, so we were lucky that like our parents got us. We were probably one of the first kids in India to have computers. And I was like a very stubborn kid. So we got a computer pretty early. We got internet pretty early, and I remember like we got into programming like super early when we were aged like 11, 12. And I had asked my dad to get a game CD because I used to love playing games a lot. And he got us a C++ CD and saying, hey, you can make your own games.
Wow.
And we were like, sat the whole night, like making a simple, I think, there's some chess game or something that we made. And since then, like, we have been just very addicted to, programming, as a space. Study session started when, like, engineering, I went to IIT Allahabad, right? And there, I think I got this sense of a little bit of responsibility, right? Okay, like, what am I doing with my life? I have this, gift of programming, I should make most of it. And somehow I had this pain in my inside me that I couldn't get into IIT at that time, right? And Madhav obviously went to IIT and
that must have hurt a lot, huh?
I mean, I think it was too. I mean, I was not processing it then, right?
Yeah.
So once you get in, then it's the first time that you sort of really like see the value, right? Like, okay, okay, like this thing actually has some meaning, right? Like till then, like grades had no meaning. Till then, like like nothing had any meaning.
And then from there, you went out. I think you kind of worked for Google for many years.
After that, I went to sort of after engineering, I went to do PhD. Both Madhav and I went to do PhDs. I in my first intern.
I knew Madhav was a PhD. I didn't know you were also a PhD.
Yeah, I was also a PhD student, and I actually went in the backdrop of 2008 financial crisis. So when I landed in US, there were like literally no jobs, right? And everybody was like very scared, right? And I was like, okay, how hard can it be, finding a job and internship? And I think I got like 5-6 internships, in the first time. And then I went to Google, interned there, liked it so much because the research that I was planning to do, like, Google had done it like a few years ago and thrown it away. And I was like, okay, there is no point in doing the PhD. And I sort of got drawn to, building stuff, right? So then came back, finished my master's. And then joined Google in search team. Again, I was pretty adamant about, hey, I want to be in search team. I want to be in New York, because that's the city I like. And luckily, they were opening a new team there, so I got a chance to work with them. And this was like the search quality team, so like people who actually wrote algorithms to, like rank search results on Google.com, right? And so it was pretty like I was probably one of the youngest people in the team, and everybody else was like way elder to me. And so it was a pretty fun learning experience, and you could see the impact. And I think that was the time when I learned a lot about like how to push on quality side of things. For example, we would run side-by-side tests when we change an algorithm. None of that is coming handy now, right?
And
because
a lot of scale problems, like
evals, right? Like I mean, because Google Search was very eval-driven, as a concept, right? So a lot of the learning are sort of like helping us now.
And then you decide to leave it all and come back to India and start a company.
Yeah,
tell us about how that happened.
Yeah, that happened because so when I was in Google, like I think first 2 years was like really great, and it was 2011, 12, 13, and at some time I started feeling that I couldn't push my thinking inside, like you start hitting some walls, experiencing bureaucracy in some way, right? Like even though it was mild, right? Like, and I would come up with crazy ideas. Okay, let's try this, and then somebody would shoot it down. and I've always wanted to start a company from the beginning, right? In fact, one of the reasons to sort of go to US, I've been always pretty impressed by Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. So even when I was in Colombia, like we would do like a lot of business hackathons, and all of these things where we would try and sort of go and win the competition. So I always wanted to start something, and was trying to find the right people to start with. And we started a company in New York when I left Google. And then I got married, and my wife didn't want to move to US. And I thought, okay, like how hard can it be? Like that's my general sort of philosophy in life, that when something new comes in, I'm like, okay, how hard can it be? Let me just jump in and see, and so I came back to India. I thought I'll run the company from India. So I used to be up all night and manage the team in New York for a while. And after a while, it really got unmanageable. And then we ended up returning the money, shutting down the company, and then that's when Dunzo happened, right? So
tell us about Dunzo, man. This is like one of the most well-loved brands in India. I mean, I feel like it became a verb. I came back to India in 2018. Right. I think you guys were around at the time.
Yeah, we started in 2016. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's so rare to have a company name become a verb in a literal sense, and people would just say, let's Dunzo this. Tell us more about Dunzo, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Dunzo, like when Dunzo started, there was this whole wave of messaging platforms that were taking off. Like Magic was one, I don't know if you know, in US.
Oh yeah, Magic, yeah, of course.
It shipped the tiger to somebody's house. That was the like the moment they went viral. and I think there was this whole phenomenon when we started Dunzo. And I think there are a lot of parallels with Emergent. Like when we started Dunzo, like there were like 67 other companies I had counted that were doing the exact same thing. Because it was very easy to get started on WhatsApp. And our whole concept was a concierge service, like where you just text on WhatsApp what you want, and we will do everything to make sure that happens. Like whether it's like, you know, finding, and we have had like drivers sort of climb neem trees, pluck neem leaves. We have had like people, you know, go on a plane to deliver things to, you know, Haridwar because somebody wanted something, right? And our whole concept was that living in urban cities is very difficult, and if we can sort of give you time back and give you that convenience, right? Outsource a lot of those things to us. And of course, the mobile wave was happening, Geo was happening, right? So the you know, economics started to make sense in the whole concierge way. But when we started, there were like 67 companies that were doing the exact same thing. A lot of them were more funded than us at that time. And the thing that, like, you know, made us sort of work was one, like, extreme obsession with customers. Like we were like really crazy about like, hey, how can we make this, how can we fulfill this request? How do we make sure that every customer is happy? And I remember every time like the customer volume would go up, we would shut down everybody in the company, because that time it was manual chat. There was no AI, so people had to sort of chat themselves. Everybody would just come down on the floor and manage all the chats. Whenever delivery boys were down, like low on the road, like people would just, you know, we would just go on bike ourselves to start doing deliveries. And we used to, like, I think early days we used to do like 50, 60 deliveries a week ourselves. Like when I said there were 67 companies, a lot of them died because all of them were trying to be a wrapper on top of some services that existed, right? And they were trying to be the digital layer. Nobody sort of realized that the hard problem is the logistics part, right? Like where the last mile, the, you know, like the quality of delivery, the actually fulfillment is the hard part, right? And discovery is the hard part. Like when somebody says, hey, I need this, you know, special thing, like our drivers would sort of go around the city trying to find it, right? And then we would collect database of that. And so yeah, I think that customer obsession was sort of, you know, and us solving the hard problems, right? And I feel like app building is in a similar space today, right? Where you'll see like a lot of companies starting up, like, because it's very easy to slap, you know, a front end on top of a Cloud API, right? But the hard parts are like the testing, the infrastructure, you know, like how do you make the agent quality really good, right? And so I have some you know, it's a little bit similar to that.
A lot of parallels, We'll dig into the parallels before we. I want to maybe still dig into the Dunzo story a bit more. I feel like, I mean, you guys scaled up massively. I think it's scaled, I don't know, tens of millions of users a day, I'm guessing. But that's pretty large by any standards. You raised close to $500 million in capital. I mean, it's no chump change. And COVID was tough on the company, and the company doesn't exist anymore. So I'm sure they were like very tough lessons. I mean, this is like forged by fire that we call in our business, right? Founders. Not everybody gets to see that kind of scale and that level of public failure.
Right.
It's not something that people talk about. I would love to maybe have you open that can for us a little bit. And how did it feel like to reach those heights? And also feel like you could have gotten further if there was no COVID or, I don't know, many reasons, right? What are the things that you regret as part of that? What did you learn that you're bringing to this new company? What do you think you regret? What do you think you were the most proud of in building Dunzo to what it was, which was a darling of the Indian tech world?
Yeah, I think like in the end, it's a bittersweet, you know, journey. One of the hardest things to do in a startup is to, you know, pick the right market, right? Like we were probably one of the greatest market. Like quick commerce right now is one of the, you know, like most accelerating trend in India right now. Like, so we were in the right market, with a great product, with a great brand that resonated with people. I think for us, where I would say that, at least personally to me, it feels like there's a lot of timing issue, right? Like you know, like the economy was going through a slump, right? Like I think if we would have survived 2-3 months, I think the story would have been very different for us, right? Like we were not able to raise the round that we were, you know, planning to raise, and like were pretty optimistic about raising, right? And it was also a very competitive field at that time, where like Swiggy, Zepto, everybody was like, you know, in most part, like we had like better unit economics, better sort of customer service, right? And we had solved some of the hard problems. I think one of the things that we sort of made mistake on was we knew dark store was working, right? And we were trying to double down on that, but at the same time we kept everything else open, right? So we had a marketplace model, we had a pick up and drop, and that led us to sort of focus on multiple things, trying to make multiple things work, versus just saying that, okay, look, this is a super trend, this is working, let's just, you know, drop everything else and just focus on that, right? Also, I think like we were a very sort of product first as a company, right? Like, and just the economics of dark store and like the logistics and the supply chain. I think we had to sort of scale a lot of those things very quickly, right? And there were a lot of sort of learning in that, right? Some form of depression when Dunzo ended, like it took sort of almost a year for me to figure out okay what to do next. I'm pretty lucky AI is happening, right?
Yeah,
like
it's the best cure for depression
exactly.
for founders and investors alike.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was pretty depressing. Like for first 6 months, I was just every day I was just think about it, like, hey, what's happening? Why did it happen? Like, what could we have done differently? And I think the lesson that I'm sort of taking from there, one is that when things are working, you just need to keep doubling down on those things, right? And just sort of figure out how to sort of keep the focus aligned. It's a lot of my focus right now in Emergent is also on things that matter a lot, and for example our agent quality, right? Where we are really focused on improving that, because we know that is the edge right now for us to sort of really double down, right? And other thing is I would say some sort of economic discipline, right? Making sure that we think through the fundamentals of business, unit economics, right? All of those things, is something that I think are a lesson that I'm taking from Dunzo.
Now let's come to Emergent.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even remember when we invested, because it feels like there are months when years pass. I mean, you guys have done so much. When we invested, I think late last year, you were, I don't know what the numbers are, but maybe 10 million over several months. And now it feels like we're doing that in a week or so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy acceleration in a few quarters, if not less. I would love to maybe have you talk about what's the meta vision for the company? What's the ambition for the company? What do you really want to achieve? If you were to be massively successful, what would change in the world? And then I would love to maybe talk a bit about just how the hell are you doing it? I mean, this is so hard to do.
Yeah.
Even with or without AI, just like what you guys are doing is just so incredibly fast, and it's such an incredibly vertical slope across team building, go-to-market, revenue, product quality, brand building. Like, how are you guys doing all of those things at the same time?
Right.
Love to know.
Yeah, so I mean, just to give you a little bit of background on how we started, right? So September 23 is when I left Dunzo. For next few months, I was mostly chilling and thinking about what to do next. And both Madhav and I have been sort of very, very passionate about deep learning, from the beginning. Right? In fact, my first startup out of Google was a deep learning startup. I was doing with two really smart Google people who then thought, okay, it's better to go back to Google than to build a startup. And so we have been sort of very, very passionate about deep learning, and we have been observing the field since the beginning when AlexNet came out. And of course, when the sentiment neural paper came out from OpenAI, it was pretty clear to us that okay, this we did not expect to happen so soon, right? So something's going to change in this field very, very soon. And even during Dunzo days, me and Maddie will sort of chat about hey, what are the new ideas coming out, and we would have this almost on a daily or alternate day basis. We'll discuss what's happening in the field. And GPT-3 came out, we were one of the first people to try it. Stable Diffusion came out, we were one of the first people to build it on a laptop, right? And so we had a very strong sense of the acceleration that's going to come from AI, and very deep belief that the exponential is going to continue, because mentally we had sort of drawn a chart, okay, how fast the AI is going to progress, and we could see and it's true even today, even though we have a very aggressive prediction of how fast AI is going to improve, we are continuously being shocked by the new things that are coming out, right? So it's pretty clear to us that okay, AI is going to be a big thing, and given that we had come from this computer science background, deep computer science background, we were passionate about automating our own job. We were like, okay, what if we could just build and that time agent was not even a word, right? People were building copilots, and we thought, okay, what if we could build an AI which could actually take an abstract programming job and do it fully on its own, right?
Yeah.
And of course we were laughed out of a lot of rooms saying that okay, this is not going to happen, and this was back in 23, 24 when still things were new. And but we had this very deep belief that AI is going to get really good, and we could already see that when GPT-4 was already there, and we could already see that you can actually now use it to do longer horizon tasks and make it fully autonomous. And then we got into IC. At that time we were building testing agents, which sort of still is the foundation of a lot of the things that we're doing in Emergent, is how well we test the app and other things. And as we were building, we sort of realized that a lot of things that we were building for testing actually also improved the general coding agent ability of the general coding agent. So we started thinking about general coding agent, and we picked up this benchmark called SweBench, which is essentially the benchmark for all of the coding agents. And it was just a very small team, 4-people team. And we thought, okay, could we sort of top this benchmark? And we packed ourselves in a room, and we had a demo day coming up in YC, and we had nothing to show. So we were like, okay, at least can we just get to this benchmark and we can say, look, we're top of this benchmark. And that, I think, 2-3 months of effort that we put in, and we became world number one, in October on that benchmark. And that really set the right foundation for the team, because we were thinking agent first all the time. We were sort of really thinking about long horizon tasks. We were thinking about autonomous coding, right? And we spent enormous amount of time, just reading agent traces, agent logs, understanding why is LLM behaving this way. Every day we would have 30 experiments that we would want to try to make sure that we get to the benchmark. And that set the right culture of eval-driven development, where we sort of do continuous eval on things that we do. Set the right foundation for us to build world's best coding agent. At that point, we started thinking, okay, we have world's best coding agent now. What can we do? And because generally me and Madhav both are idea guys, so we have tons of ideas all the time, right? And we started hacking on the site, saying that, okay, I have this idea that we just try to build using Emergent's coding agent. And we started seeing this sign where, Lovable, Bold, all of them were sort of taking off at that time. And we would compare the same thing on Lovable and saying, okay, we just get this prompt, and we tried it on our agent, and our agent was able to build it, and other platforms were struggling, right? And we internally started feeling so empowered, because we were still sort of working on the next version of the benchmark and things like that. But a lot of things that we needed, like internal dashboards, graphs, all of those things were being vibe coded internally using the Emergent agent. And we thought, okay, this thing is starting to work. What if everybody could use it now? Right now, the limitation of, us having an idea and expressing it in the real world is so high, right? And we started thinking about what if we could sort of, close that gap, because back then everybody was still sort of building front-end heavy apps and prototypes and things like that. And it felt like the production app is a pipe dream, right? Where you can make an actual working software. And that was our sort of dream. Hey, can you actually make a software work just by instructing it, in natural language? And that's how we sort of got started.
So let's spend some time here, because this keeps coming up, right? I mean, because cloud code obviously is where it is. It's going to improve continuously, and it's going to lift the boat, all the boats at the same time. But there always remains this asymptote, where if you don't really get to the edge of the asymptote, you never really create what could be a fully usable, fully deployable, fully scalable app. And most of the folks that will be seduced by the idea and when try it, they kind of fall through the cracks there. And I agree that the cracks are diminishing, but the expectations are also increasing.
Totally.
Right, for more and more complex apps. So we will come back to the question around how are you building the company in so many ways, what tricks and trades other people that are building AI companies could learn from Emergent. But before that, let's talk about what would separate and create gap between you and everybody else, and maybe more generically, because there are so many companies that have been called rappers, and I actually believe that that's not the right definition. How should they think about building a gap between them and their competitors, or gap between their category and the foundation models that power their categories?
So I mean, our sort of thought process right now is that in a closed system, right, where you have the right data loops, you have the right, problem definition. For example, we are building only for a particular stack, right? React, Python, Mongo, right? And you actually will have a lot of data advantage, because you're collecting all the logs, you're collecting all the, prompts that people are putting in, what exactly do they want from that, and what kind of bugs are getting fired.
And you have these closed loops because all the infra is yours. It's not like you're passing. Can you say more about that?
As we started, so there are a few things that we did. One was that obviously we built our own coding agent, which was really, really important, which I think any serious company today which wants to win in AI should be building their own coding agents right now, right? Because I think or at least their own agents.
As opposed to
using Cloud Code, right? Or as opposed to using a third party, right? I think fundamentally I'm a very full stack guy. Even Dunzo was like a full stack business, so we were managing a lot of things ourselves. And I feel that in early days when you need to innovate really quickly, the more pieces you control, the faster you're able to integrate them, the faster you're able to sort of really iterate on things. And we started Emergent with this core thesis that to really build a production-grade software, you'll have to emulate what best software engineering teams does, right? So what a Meta software engineering team does, what a Google engineering team does, and even we have experience working there. We could sort of put that in the platform, right? So we have code reviews, we have automated testing, we have debugging, we have linters that are running every time a code is run. We have automated checks on security, a bunch of those things. And one of the biggest problems is even if you build something, when you deploy, things are going to break. So how do you close that loop? And for that, we had to build a lot of things ground up. So we had to build our own container technology. Right? We used everything, modal, E2B. At that time, none of them were like sort of mature, and we had to sort of figure out how to do memory snapshotting, disk snapshotting, so that we can save the state. Because we would want to run multiple parallel agents to see which one is winning. So we had to innovate a lot on the infrastructure layer, on the coding agent side layer, and build everything in a packaged way so that we have end-to-end visibility, right? And that allows us today to build like the probably the best quality apps in the world today, and that's why a lot of users are flocking to us, on the platform. And because we control every single thing, like we can iterate really fast, we can tweak really fast. We don't have to think about coordinating with a third party to add another feature. For example, let's say you want database versioning, right? We could sort of roll it out ourselves versus.
Yeah, you guys use Mongo in the background, which is super base.
We use Mongo today, and we are now extending to Postgres as well, right? And because the iteration speed is so fast that we are able to sort of run maybe at any given time we are probably running like 50 to 60 experiments right now, on a platform to see, which agent is going to win in which scenario, like whether it's design or whether it's like testing, a bunch of those things. And so I think just coming back, right, I think like how do you distinguish between like model companies and the application layer? Like the thing that we are focused on in a closed system, we think we'll always win because we'll always have the data advantage. For example, we have a concept called long-term memory, right, where agents are running from all the previous applications that are built on the platform. And so, memory became really critical piece for us. And so when you have a closed system, like you have the data advantage, because you will just know a lot more about that particular type of task and how do you sort of encode that. We have a bunch of fine-tuned models that are running right now, which extract data, which then sort of put it back when agents are running. So that's, I think, like advantage. Second, I think advantage is just staying close to the user. We really care about our users' app being deployed on the platform, right? So like we treat any deployment failure as an SOS in the company, and an engineer on call will sort of jump in, figure out like why the deployment failed. So I think like that. And moving fast. I think these are three things. Like if you build a closed loop where your data loops and other things are sort of working for you, so you can actually like get the advantage of open source, fine tune these kind of things. Second thing is essentially moving fast. How can you ship really fast? Again, if you have a full stack system, you're able to iterate much faster. And third is staying close to the user. So I mean, if you're close to you understand them better. For example, we know like what are we had a lot of different hypotheses when we started. Like we actually thought that a lot of like technical or semi-technical users will use us. Right, when we launched back in June, like our first thought process was okay, a lot of PMs, a lot of designers, a lot of senior developers would use us. And what we were surprised to see is that we have a lot of business owners using us. We have a lot of entrepreneurs, first-time people who have never seen line of code using the platform today. Right, so I think the kind of application they're building, which is extremely business critical. So now people are building ERP systems to run their entire factory. Like we have a user in Mexico who has a clothing factory, which is 500 people, and like his entire factory is being run on the software built on Emergent today.
Wow.
Right? And he actually went to a dev shop, got a quote of $500,000 to build that software, and he was able to build this on Emergent for $10,000. And his concern was, hey, like, you guys seem very new. Like, I was able to build it here. Will you guys stay around? And I was like, no, we have just raised money. Don't worry.
Yeah. So this is interesting. Right? So the code piece. I mean, I love that. I mean, I love this closed loop, open loop kind of analogy. It does look like the code is code, but then a business is run on code and so many other things.
Right.
Like same is true for Dunzo as well, and as it is for customers who could probably build a Dunzo on top of you guys.
Totally.
I would love to see that. That'll be amazing. But then if I were to go start a business, my worry would be like, I'm not a technical guy. I don't have a technical team. I don't have a CTO. I don't have money to get a CTO. Right. I'm not in the venture business. No bank would loan me anything. It's my money.
Right.
I go use you guys. I build something. Let's say I try 5 things, and one of those just really picks up and makes me $1 million a year. Awesome. I'm set. But I have no idea how to unpack that AI box. It's a black box to me. I don't know what design choices were made, what PID even means.
Right.
If I have to go make some edit 1 year down the line, who do I go to? I don't have a technical guy.
Right.
There's no dev agency I can sort of ring a phone. Or if my customer says, you know what, Hemant, your app is great, but my credit card is failing. Or you know what, my login password, how the hell do I fix it now? Are we gonna go fix that? Are you guys thinking about it from that point of view as well, or is mostly, still ahead in the future? Give us more about where this would end up.
So I think again, like we are just following our top users, right, and trying to just keep up with the pace at which they're moving, right. And a lot of these requirements are coming, right, like where people now want, like, hey, can you, even in distribution, can you help me distribute my product, right?
Say more about that.
And so I mean, for example, like now people have built their apps, and of course we have a really large user base now, right? And we also run one of the most, I would say, sophisticated influencer marketing campaign in the world right now, right? So we are thinking about how do we sort of plug that gap, right? Like a lot of people are building, but they want to distribute the apps in the future. So we're thinking about some of those things. I think the nature of the work is going to change very quickly, right? Like today agents are building software, tomorrow agents will start doing marketing for you, tomorrow agents will start doing accounting for you, right? And I think customer support. Like in fact, like we actually tried a bunch of customer support services, startups that are there, and then eventually ended up building our own customer support agent, right, internally, because we thought, okay, we already have world's best agents, like why not just use them? Yeah. And turned out it was like it's working really, really well, right, for us. Like, and
so your customers are essentially using your customer support bots to solve problems for their end consumers.
Yeah, we haven't exposed it to them yet, but when you raise a customer support query on Emergent, like our agents will sort of respond to that.
I see.
Yeah, right. And but now we're going to expose that to as a service to.
And they can use your influencer marketing or whatever network to go plug into that and then market there.
Yeah. So we like again, as I said, our focus is to make sure that user is getting to success. That's the number one thing that we care about internally right now.
Yeah.
Like even though revenue, top line, all of those things are like really important. Like the thing that we are obsessively focused on right now is how do we get customer to success, because we think that is the holy grail of vibe coding, right? Today, like everybody's claiming, hey, come do vibe coding, right? People who are building vibe coding platforms know that, okay, it kind of works. Like there's still a lot of gap for people to sort of get there. Yeah. And we want to close that gap very quickly, right? We want to make sure that users are able to get to the success very, very quickly. And then automatically a lot of these things, sort of opens up for us.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, you guys are growing really quickly. I can't even keep track what your week on week, and you are one of the most well-instrumented company I've ever worked with.
Thank you.
I remember before we made the investment, I visited the office and I saw this big screen with this bunch of these squiggly lines going up and down, and I remember asking you, like, what are those things? And you mentioned that you're measuring some of these things by the minute, not by the hour, by the day, by the week. It's like by the minute. I was like, this is crazy. And it wasn't just one or two metrics, there were like dozens of those. But give us a sense of like, where is the company? What's the scale like? And also open the hood for us, for other founders to learn from your experience on what didn't work, what experiments failed, bombed completely, and what's really flying.
I mean, last published number was 50 million ARR, right? What we're talking about right now, right? And this is like under 7 months, so like fairly. And for us, the growth rate is accelerating now, right? So we're growing every month we're growing faster than the previous month, right? So that's pretty exciting. And a lot of it is because the product is improving at a very rapid pace. So as more people use the product, like the conversion rates are going up, like they're using, the average revenue per user is going up, right? So that's pretty sort of exciting for us to see. And we are extremely data obsessed as a company. Obviously, like a lot of the LLM building is about reading the LLM traces, prompts. So you have to be very, very qualitative as well. But like I think for us, just as a DNA, like we are very data obsessed as a company. So we track as much as we can. We try to build a lot of strong feedback loops within the system, right? So every hour, every minute, we know like what should we be expecting at this time in terms of revenue and everything, and like which geography should be contributing how much to us. So we have like built a very strong data practice internally to sort of get there. I would say like mistakes, I think we should have just like launched long back, right? And we for like 6-8 months we were like just sitting on this world's best coding agent, and we were just like internally playing with it, right? And so I think just getting like the real touch of a user is so important, right? And for example, when we launched, I remember the first week of launch, I was just sitting on a table, right, and answering all the customer support queries. That's it. Like I was not doing any marketing, anything. I remember I was just ordering pizza would get delivered, I would drink my coffee and just sit there 24/7 doing support, because that feedback loop was so important for us to like rapidly improve the product, right? Saying, okay, these are like common things that people don't understand, right? So I think first thing I would say, just like launch early, launch in whatever shape you have, because there are so many assumptions that you're going to make, and all of these things are like very cliched advice, right? But I think people need to hear more and more of this, because that's the most common mistake people would make, right? Like you would just sit on an idea for a long time, you would not try. And now that you can go to Emergent and actually build things, and like we are really reducing the gap between you having an idea and just getting it out there, right?
So I think that's the Emergent plug.
Yes.
Yes.
And I was meeting this user in Pune a few days back, and he said that he wanted to pivot his company to and wanted to build an LMS, and went to a dev shop, got a quote of like 30 lakh rupees to build that. And he didn't have money, like they ran out of money as a startup, and they actually started building on Emergent. And today they have like 1,000 users using their LMS like under 2 weeks.
Wow.
Right. And we have a lot of these countless stories of like success of entrepreneurs coming on the platform, like trying to build and launch. And so I would say like launch early, like as soon as possible. Second is solve the hard problem, right? I think a lot of people shy away from. I mean, you can literally see like there's a hard problem in the middle, and the org gets created around it, right? Solving all the other problems, right? Okay, let's growth hack this, let's do that. When the hard problem is, oh, your customer is not able to deploy, right?
Yeah.
And
that asymptotic gap where agent works just enough to get something ready, but then not enough to publish it, run it, use it.
A lot of hard problem. Like eval is a hard problem, right? Like I mean, like building great evals is extremely hard. Like you know, like unless you like really focus hard on it. And you have to almost force your company to solve some of those hard problems. So generally, I'm the flag bearer of hard problems. I will pick one hard problem and then I will just like pull entire org towards it, saying that okay, look, this is my priority. I don't care about other things. Other things need to just keep working, but this problem needs to get solved in next like 24 hours or like 7 days or a month. So I think second thing is just like people shying away from hard problems. You should identify like what is the hard problem that will actually give you an edge, which is actually the hard problem in the space, right? And go and attack that, because I have another theory that like whenever you pick a hard problem, try to solve the 1% of it. Like get to the first 1% very quickly, because the daunting nature of the problem gets really short. Like as you solve the first 1%, right? And I think third is just momentum. Like I think how you build internal momentum. I was telling people that like at least at the stage that we are playing now, it feels like an Olympic race, right? Like where like everybody will remember Usain Bolt, nobody's going to remember the number 2, right? That's going to come, right? And the difference is going to be 2 seconds, right? And we are internally fighting for that 2 seconds every day, right? Like, hey, like we need to fight for the 2 seconds. We have a 2 second rule internally now that whenever we see a Slack, we say 2 seconds, right? Like, okay, like is this the 2 seconds that's going to make us lose the game? And I think that obsession and momentum is like really, you need to cultivate that. You need to sort of, really fight that entropy like every single day. In the org to sort of keep going at the momentum that we are building at the rate that we want to grow, right? And generally I've seen that people at the top percentile have exponential return, right? So if you're able to build a great team, like get the right people in the team, if you're hiring the top 0.1%, for example, like a lot of our hiring is focused on top 100 IIT rankers, like how do we sort of get them into the engineering team, give them really hard problems to solve, right? I think the return on them is so high, right? Because they'll solve that 99.99 percentile problem that nobody else is able to solve today, right? So I mean, I would say like these 4 things, like just like solve the hard problem, launch early, like build a lot of internal momentum, and like hire the top people, right? I think I mean generally I've seen like my rule is like if I'm not hiring people smarter than me, like then there's a problem.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that 2-second rule. We're going to implement it in Lightspeed also.
Yeah, it's a new thing I've just picked up like a few weeks back.
That's great. I'm going to copy it. Now the big news. I mean, you guys announced last week that you've raised a 70 million Series B. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, super exciting. I think it just came like within 3 months of us raising Series A, right? I think, and really thanks to you and all of the Lightspeed team. I think it was really exciting working on that together. And I remember we worked on the retention data on like how do we even look at this business, because it's a new business, and it's been fun. I think we are very excited about the journey ahead. Like I think like it just to us it feels like every next month is bigger than all of the past month combined in terms of learning, in terms of the momentum that we have right now, right? And I think this it's really exciting to sort of raise this round. And
I mean, 70 million Series B is massive, one of the largest, especially in India, but I think maybe even in the world is one of the larger ones in the app space. Tell us, what would you want to do with this money? What are you going to go spend it on, and what do the next few quarters look like for you? What are your goals and ambitions?
We'll go to Vegas and no, I think, I mean, for us, these are all milestones, right? Like as I said, like we're very focused on just like getting our customer to success, right? It just gives us more fuel to sort of experiment faster, to build like world-class team, to grow even more aggressively, right? And personally, I feel that, I mean, the problems that we are solving are hard, right? And for us, raising money just allows us to sort of, like go harder at those problems and just build more momentum for us.
Amazing. Any advice to founders that are building companies in the AI space? Because the AI space is just so different from the pre-AI world.
Totally.
I mean, regularly we see companies going from $1 to $3 million in a year. And just 2-3 years back, those would be like really hot companies. Today, I mean, they are still median, right? And the game is completely changed. You've got companies where the CROs are still struggling to understand what quota management, quota pathing and achievement would look like. And there are companies with people that have no experience selling or marketing. In a traditional way, are just scaling to hundreds of millions of dollars with a team of 30, 50, 100. I mean, it's just a very dislocating time in the world. What would you sort of say to founders that are, maybe earlier in the journey on what they should avoid doing, the mistakes that are very common pitfalls, and do more of?
Firstly, I would just very aggressively I would drop anything that you're doing if it is not related to AI and just jump into AI, because I think the wave, the exponential is so high. I feel today AI is just like Bitcoin at $1, right? And it's gonna get to 100,000 in super short time. I think.
So today AI is like Bitcoin $1. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think it is, if you see for example, Sora came out with this cameo feature, right? I did not expect that to come out so soon, right? So I think the world is sort of changing really fast, and I think every single area will get impacted in a positive way, in a big way. I just feel lucky that we are born in a generation where AI is happening, right? And we get to participate in this. And I think to founders, I would say that one, you should be in AI, no matter what you're doing. I think I would say if you are an engineer or a product manager, you should be joining an AI native company. Come to Emergent, right? And because I think the learning curve, because obviously we are building AI native products, and the economics, the pace at which we build things, the sort of underlying sort of company building philosophy is also very AI first, right? So we start thinking about hey, where can we apply AI versus hiring more people versus for example, even we have crawlers running in the night, which sort of crawls for best engineers in the world, right? Which are trying to for us to hire. Right, so I think that AI first approach is going to come very different. It's very hard to get unless you are very close to the action, right? Unless, and again, there are a lot of AI, companies which are trying to apply AI to certain things. I think those are okay, but if you want to really accelerate your career, you should be in an AI native company right now, building an AI.
Yeah.
And I would say that pick problems full stack right now, right? Just go end to end, go to the direct consumer as fast as you can, and solve the problem end to end, because I think that's where a lot of the leverage is right now. I've seen a bunch of people creating insurance companies AI native ways, and every single thing is going to become an AI native version of that. So if you can sort of think about that in your domain, I think the power is now shifting, because so far the cost of starting a company, the kind of talent that you needed has been so enormous, right? It's been so hard to start a company. But now because of AI, because of tools like Emergent, you can actually build these things really fast.
Yeah.
Right. The gap is so reducing, and we are seeing a lot of people who are just domain experts, right? Create things. For example, there's a lady on Emergent who's creating. She's a horse rider and a coach. She coaches people to ride horses somewhere in I think Alaska. She has built this whole app on how to learn horse riding on your own, and because she's a domain expert on how to do that, right? And so I think there are a lot of things that people can start doing, because if you're a domain expert in something, start figuring out what AI can do that.
That's amazing. Thank you again for spending time with us, Mukund. I know you are building one of the fastest growing companies in the world, and every hour, every minute is really, really important. So I really appreciate you spending the time with us at Lightspeed.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate having me here, and thanks. It was really fun chatting.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.